Not only can partials be used to overload a muscle throughout their entirety, but they can also be used with great success to increase the demand on a muscle when doing any exercise. So when you do a compound movement, for example, multiple muscles are involved in producing the force to overcome the resistance, but the demand placed on those muscles will vary based on the range of motion. So the reason you select an exercise is probably because you want to impose a demand on a specific muscle group. But when you do a full range of motion, what could happen is that smaller, weaker muscles involved in that lift might be recruited and fatigued to a greater degree with every single rep that you do, and they might become a limiting factor. And if they become a limiting factor, that would suggest that that exercise performed that way increased the demand on that muscle more so than the targeted area that you were trying to target when you did that exercise in the first place. And if that area becomes a limiting factor, then what muscle wasn't maximally recruited and fatigued? The one that you were trying to recruit and fatigue the most when you selected that exercise in the first place. So what you might want to do is you might want to just do partial repetitions and only perform the range of motion in which the targeted muscle is under the most stress at the expense of all the other muscles, so that you promote a maximal response as it relates to stimulating that specific muscle. Now, another thing you might want to look at when you're doing an exercise is that depending on what you're doing and why you're doing it, a muscle might have an opportunity to disengage at the beginning or the end of a repetition, and this could be to your benefit or detriment depending on what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to lift the most amount of weight, the most amount of times, and you want to promote growth through mechanical tension and possibly muscle damage, then you might want your muscles to rest in between the repetitions at the beginning or end range, because that will allow ATP to regenerate, which will facilitate a greater amount of work being able to be performed. However, if you want to promote growth through metabolic stress, then what you might want to do is shave off the first 10% of the range of motion of an exercise and the last 10% of the range of motion of an exercise, and just perform reps through the middle range of motion so that the muscles remain under constant tension. Because what could happen is that if the lever arm, the working lever, the bone that the muscle is pulling on, is ever parallel to the direction of resistance, then the demand placed on that muscle to overcome the resistance is virtually none. So it doesn't have to do any work in that position. Therefore, it has an opportunity to disengage. And if that happens, the muscle's not under constant tension anymore. So we're not going to maximize our metabolic stress effect to promote growth that way, at least not to the best of our capacities. So if you performed only the middle range of motion, you keep the muscles under constant tension. And there's other benefits to this. Number one, if the muscle's engaged, blood can't get in and out. So it can't get in to clear away the metabolic waste that accumulates, and this will promote growth in its own right. When the muscles do disengage, more blood will flush in, because the more we hold it out, the more it's going to want to get in. It's going to try harder to get in, so more is going to flush in. So we're going to create an even better pump than we otherwise would. And the cells will perceive this as a threat to their integrity, to which they respond by producing more anabolic hormones and being more receptive to those hormones. So that will promote growth in its own right. Another thing to take into consideration is that if blood can't get into the muscle and oxygen can't get in, the slow twitch fibers, which rely on oxygen to do work, can't get what they need. So you're going to recruit and fatigue more fast twitch fibers as a result of performing your reps this way. So you need to understand what you want to accomplish from your efforts. Then you can better select what tools to use, what exercises to pick. And then from there, you got to determine how you want to do those exercises. Do we want to increase the demand on a specific muscle at the expense of others? If we do, then we might want to include partial repetitions into our strategy. Do we want our muscles to disengage at any point of the range of motion? If we do, then we might want to perform a full range of motion. If we don't, then we might want to modify the range that we're working with. Once you understand the underlying reason for doing partials in the first place, you can incorporate them however the fuck you want. So the underlying purpose is to just increase the demand on a muscle at the expense of others, or to prevent the muscles from disengaging while you're doing what you do. If you like this information, feel free to share it. Click the fucking button at the bottom, subscribe to the channel. I'll keep bringing you the best information you're going to find, period, as it relates to training to get stronger or get bigger.